Happy New Year and welcome once again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are the FAIRtax Guys. And Happy New Year to you, Ron.
And Happy New Year, Bob. Glad to be back again.
Oh, I think 2017 is going to be a good year for us. I do believe.
Yep. Yeah. We've all got to work hard, but yeah, I believe this is going to be a good year for us.
And our first episode here of 2017, we're talking to Randy Fischer, who is a member of the board of directors of AFFT, and he's got some pretty exciting news we'll get to here in just a second. But we've got to hit on the apps a little bit.
Randy, yes, the apps. Remember, folks, FAIRtax Power Radio has free apps, whether you have an Android or an iPhone. The easiest way to listen to our show, if you have a smartphone, is with these free apps. It's all free. The apps are free. The programs are free. The episodes are free. Whether you go to Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever you go, it's all free. It's absolutely. So if you know somebody who's not familiar with the fair tax, and is asking, well, just what, how does this work? How does this work? Download the free apps or just go to Spreaker.com. It's like speaker with an R. And listen to the programs. I recommend strongly you listen to 36 and 37, episodes 36 and 37. Those are our two Jefferson skits. That summarizes in 2 episodes just, what the problems with the current system are and how the fair tax will fix it in a nutshell. Those 2 episodes go a long way to do that.
Yeah, but Randy really brought us some good information.
Oh, yeah. Great interview, as always.
All right, well, let's get right to it. Talking with Randy Fischer from Americans for Fair Taxation. And FAIRtax Power Radio is pleased to kick off 2017 by talking to Randy Fischer, a man who wears so many hats I can't even begin to name them all, but we'll just say thank you for talking to us today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Bob.
All righty. Well, one of the hats that you do wear, one of the biggest ones, is as a member of the board of directors of AFFT, Americans for Fair Taxation, the national grassroots organization. You got a pretty good ear to the ground as far as the inroads we've made in Congress. Now, the thing was first identified, or fair tax was first introduced into Congress in 1999. That year and every Congress since, it's assigned to the Ways and Means Committee, sits on a shelf, nothing happens to it, it dies at the end of the session. What's going to change in 2017?
Well, in 2017, what's going to change is the fact that we've got Donald Trump as president. And that is, no doubt, a huge change. Okay. We have a man that is said and campaigned and committed to tax reform. Okay, we have a Speaker of the House who's committed to tax reform. We have a Chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee who is a fair tax co-sponsor who is committed to tax reform.
Okay, but Trump had another plan, and Paul Ryan has a plan of his own. How are we going to get those guys to embrace the fair tax?
We're going to hit them with the club, which is tax evasion. Tax evasion means taxes owed but uncollected, and they are skyrocketing.
Now, that is different from tax avoidance, which is taking advantage of legal loopholes, right?
Correct. Tax avoidance is legal, and with some corporations, it's actually a fiduciary duty to the stockholders.
Yeah, why pay more taxes than you legally have to?
Correct. Tax evasion is illegal. That means you are not filing a tax return. That means you are not reporting income, or you are reporting income but underreporting it, or you are claiming deductions that you're not otherwise entitled to.
How bad is it under the current income tax system?
In the last study was 2012, and it was two professors from Jacksonville University, and I'll just give you the name of one of them, Richard Sebula. Dr. Sebula is a professor of finance and economics. He has studied tax evasion in the United States and all over the world for the last 20 years. In that 2012 study, they took all of the prior studies, all of the literature, they merged it together, they looked at the IRS's own records, and they came up with $500 billion as a minimum amount in the United States and another $100 billion of monies owed to the United States Treasury that's offshore. And that's not the money that's being legally kept outside of the country by United States corporations. That's money that's illegally outside of the United States that's owed but uncollected taxes. So the $600 billion number was what they arrived at in 2012.
And that was over 4 years ago. What estimate what it would be today?
We will know in 2 weeks what Dr. Sebula's final report says. It's due on January 20th by contract. We have a special side group that funds tax studies and tax research that's part of the Americans for Fair Taxation. And we've committed funds, a full $15,000 for a two-part study. What we believe it's going to show, and we are not privy to the final report yet, is that number has gone close to $700 billion. It may be over $700 billion. But what's really going to get Congress's attention is the fact that it is escalating at a very rapid rate. It's estimated, we understand, that it will hit $1.2 trillion by 2022, which is only 5 years from now.
Yeah, that is owed but not collected. So you tell the politicians, hey, here's another $1 trillion you could spend if you had a different taxing system, and you might get their attention. You're right.
You are definitely going to get the attention of the Democrats because that's what they want to do is spend more money. And I think that Mr. Trump is going to see it as this entire system is irretrievably broken. It cannot be repaired. We do not want to continue to put lipstick on this pig. Mm-hmm. So I think that with Vice President Pence's help and the education that Mr. Trump's been provided over the last year, you may end up seeing a two-step dance. Tax reform, which is going to be the Trump plan, squish the number of brackets down, lower the rates down, raise the standard deductible, lower the corporate rate down, and then in 2 to 4 years after that, step 2, which will be fair tax.
Okay, because I've heard that once tax reform gets done this year, that it's going to be gone for a while. But you really think we can get there in 2 steps?
Well, if we can't get there in 1, I do believe we can get there in 2.
Getting there in 2 is better than not getting there at all.
It would be nice to get there in 1, but we may not have the clout that we need yet. They may have to start seeing that $1 trillion or more in tax evasion, and it may turn out that the numbers are even higher than what we think they are.
Okay. Do you think that the Ways and Means Committee will at least give the fair tax some consideration? I mean, prior Congresses, it's literally just been filed away. There's been no action taken on it whatsoever. Will it at least be scored? Will they at least take a look at it in this next Congress?
They have not taken up major tax reform as a whole piece since 1986. They've literally done nothing but tinker with it around the edges since 1986. They are committed to taking up major tax reform. The Speaker is committed to do that. The Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee is committed to doing that. We've been told by Chairman Brady, and I say we, that's Steve Hayes, as president of Americans for Fair Taxation, to have our experts ready to testify that we are going to be among the 3 bills that are going to be pushed, and we know Speaker Ryan's is number 2.
So you say the Trump plan, the Ryan plan, and the fair tax are the 3 main players.
That's what we've been told by Chairman Brady.
Well, I seem to think that if they have an open and honest debate on the merits of all of those systems, the fair tax wins that hands down.
I would think that it does if it's open, honest, and thorough, and they don't do what President Bush's Joint Commission on Taxation did in 2003, I believe it was. They essentially rewrote the bill, said it wouldn't work, said the rate would have to be higher, and rejected it.
Huh. Well, we'll have to fix that this time.
I think if we have lots of grassroots pressure, we need 1 million people signed up at bigsolution.org, bigsolution.org/connect.
Okay, yeah, go through the steps that people will go on that website.
When you get to bigsolution.org, there are going to be 4 buttons. One is support. That means you're completing a petition, basically, to go to Congress. We need your name, email address, and zip code. Once you complete the support page, or you can do these in any order, you need to go to Connect and make sure that you're signed up through Big Solutions yourself. So you put in your name, your physical address, your zip code, your email address, and you hit Connect and you're signed up. Mm-hmm. Then at the Connect point, you can stay there and add family, friends, neighbors, or coworkers and ask them to connect. Or you can go on to become what's called a builder. And by a builder, that means you set up your own login and you become essentially a marketer of the Fair Tax through Big Solution. You can log in yourself. You can add names of family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, people that you meet at church or fairs or festivals, and they will receive an email as soon as you enter their name and email address, and they then hit to agree to receive further information from the Fair Tax, and they become part of your Fair Tax voter tree.
Okay.
And then you get an update as to when those people have actually accepted and when they become part of your voter tree. And if they hit connect and sign up others, you get a notification of it. If they contribute, which we want people to do, and I'd like to give you some more details on that in a minute, then you get a notification that they contributed.
Okay. How much attention is all this activity actually getting in Congress?
According to Steve Hayes, he is now receiving calls from people he's never heard from before in Congress, and they're asking for time to talk to him about the Fair Tax.
So it used to be you had to knock on doors and beg for their attention, and now they're coming to you.
Yes, because they're hearing from people in their districts.
That is good.
It is, and it's not just Republicans. There are some Democrats, now that the control of Minority Leader Pelosi is weakening, and now that Harry Reid has left the Senate, we're hearing from some Democrats that say, we understand that this country is going to have to go to a consumption tax at some point.
Yeah, I would think that the evasion thing would swing them over fairly quickly if you could convince them that there's money on the table, that they're leaving on the table.
Yes, and that's the hope of Part 2 of the Sebula study. Part 1 is, where are we on current evasion in terms of the current system? And what's it going to do in the next 5 years in terms of acceleration? Part 2 is, tell us what it looks like for evasion under the Fair Tax.
I would think it would be extremely hard to evade a sales tax. It's built into the price of everything that you buy.
And Dr. Sebula has already received a lot of data from a lot of different sources on 45 states worth of sales taxes, the largest of which is a study done in California in 2015 of $52 billion collected for sales taxes and use and permit taxes in California. The evasion rate was under 3%.
Wow.
And if there's no reason to believe that the fair tax evasion rate is going to get over 3%.
Because the fair tax, again, will be collected just like a state sales tax. In fact, it will be collected by the states and then remitted up to the federal government.
And more importantly, we're becoming a cashless society more and more. I know a lot of people don't like that and they don't want to go there, but it's happening. Mm-hmm. And the important thing behind that as it relates to the fair tax is about 90% of all of our retail sales of new goods, new consumer goods, by dollar volume are sold by less than 15% of the retailers. When you think of the Walmarts, Best Buys, Target stores, CVS, Kroger's, those kind of people, that's 15% of the retailers, and they're making over 90% of the sales.
So your administration and enforcement efforts go way down, and the effectiveness doesn't disappear.
On the new goods side, you're looking at really focusing on 10% of the retailers. Mm-hmm. And when you split that up with 50 state retail agencies, and you only have 3 million retailers, they're going to be able to monitor that and control it pretty well. You'll still have some bootleg cigarette sales in New York City and things like that have gone on forever. those folks will still be able to evade on a small scale, but nothing on a large scale.
All right. You mentioned something, Target the Top, here before we started. What's that all about?
Target the Top is our new marketing strategy for I chair a committee, a working group, and it's called the Marketing and Communications Committee. It floats between 6 of us and 12 of us, depending on who's got the time to work on it and what else is going on in their lives. Because Americans for Fair Taxation is an all-volunteer group. There are no employees. And so our volunteer marketing group has decided that prong one of a 3-pronged strategy has got to be to target the top. And by target the top, we mean Donald Trump, the Trump administration as announced, the Trump transition team, and those in his inner circle. So we're setting up lines of communications, particularly through Governor or soon-to-be Vice President Pence, to provide them with a marketing sales booklet. The marketing booklet is focused on Donald Trump because Donald Trump likes to have things focused on him.
Wow.
So it is.
I never knew that.
You have the opportunity to go down in history as the greatest president ever because you have the opportunity to end the income tax and close the IRS.
Well, I would think as a business person, he would see the immense value in getting rid of all the compliance costs that businesses have to deal with the income tax.
Over $500 billion when you include compliance and avoidance costs.
Wow.
So you add that $500 billion to that $600+ billion in evasion costs, and there's $1.2 trillion that can come back into the economy, along with the $2 trillion of offshore U.S. capital.
How persuadable do you think Mr. Trump is going to be? He tends to get his mind set on something and nothing can change it, but he is surrounded by fair tax supporters. Mike Huckabee especially as well has been on it for ages. Do you think we can actually get through to him?
Yes, I think we have a chance because Mr. Trump is somebody who thinks outside the box. He's not somebody that is totally tied to convention.
All right. Hope this works.
We believe it has a chance to work.
What kind of time frame are you looking at to have an effect here?
We're going to have that packet in Trump Towers, we hope, by January 30th. We're going to send it electronically to as many as we can in Congress. That's 535, 435 in the House, 100 in the Senate. We're going to deliver this same packet electronically. Congressman Rob Woodall from Georgia is going to have printed versions that he's going to distribute out to co-sponsors, current and future. And we've got Senator Jerry Moran, who's going to work with us in the Senate. He is going to be the primary sponsor in the Senate. And Senator Moran is going to have packets for all 100 of the senators.
What can we, as the grassroots out in the country, do to help this work?
One, you can contribute. $5, $10, $25. Go to bigsolution.org/contribute. And that's one of those 4 buttons that I mentioned. Support, connect, build, contribute. Because at this point, we need resources.
Because in its original form, AFFT was the brainchild of a bunch of billionaire Texas businessmen. They are no longer in control. So their billions are no longer supporting it.
No corporate money, all grassroots funded, all grassroots operated, no rents, minimal overhead. We do have to stay qualified in 50 states and as a nonprofit. That requires significant compliance costs. We're maintaining 2 websites, fairtax.org and bigsolution.org. But Big Solution has been an all-volunteer donation effort by a tremendous volunteer in Nebraska by the name of Scott Peterson. Scott has just become the political director for a new congressman in Nebraska. He defeated a sitting incumbent, and he is going to be signing on. Don Bacon is his name, and you'll see that name, we hope, coming on as a co-sponsor. We understand that the new bill, H.R. 25 in the House, should be filed by the end of this week.
Okay.
And we don't know for sure when the Senate bill will be filed. But as soon as that happens, we're going to be asking people, get on the phone, email your congressperson, fax their office, call their office, set up a time if you can to meet with one of their staff people, particularly their legislative directors, and do a couple more things. One that is important is get some fair tax materials that you can keep with you at home. There are FAIRtax logo store materials, and that's actually the name of the store, is fairtaxlogostore.org. There are what they call palm cards, which are about 3.5 by 5. There are smaller business size cards. There are grocery bag, tote bags, anything with the name FAIRtax on it. Keep it with you, keep it in the car, hand them out to friends and family.
Okay, what about the Ways and Means Committee? Are you targeting them?
Yes, 39 of them. We think there's going to be a heavier Republican balance because of gains in the House. So we think it'll be 20 and 19. No, I'm sorry, it's currently 20 and 19. We think it'll be 21-18 or maybe 22-17. And we're getting the names as they're being lined up, but those that final selection of Ways and Means won't be done for about another 10 days to 2 weeks.
How about Speaker Ryan? I mean, he is supporting a competing plan. How do we get his attention?
Well, we have his attention, and when asked about the fair tax, he always laughs and says, "I see your things in my town every time I go home."
Excellent.
He says that he likes the fair tax, and if he were creating a tax plan from scratch, he would endorse and go with the fair tax. But he says there are just too many administrative hurdles, and obviously we disagree with him, and we're going to do what we can to change his mind on that.
Well, we can work on the two-step process to get it.
If we have to go the two-step process, then that's where we get it.
All righty. Well, I tell you what, I certainly appreciate you coming by. You've got a lot of insight. Time flies when you're having fun. We're going to have to wrap this up in a second. Anything else you wanted to touch on?
Just get on the phone, call your congressman, send him an email, send him a fax, and then rinse, wash, and repeat.
And listen to FAIRtax Power Radio.
Absolutely. Listen to FAIRtax Power Radio.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Randy. Appreciate your efforts you've done on behalf of the FAIRtax, and appreciate your time talking to us today.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, that was encouraging. Randy brought a lot of good information, and I had not heard about the two-step process before.
No, I think he briefly mentioned that at one of our volunteer meetings, but I didn't get much of the details. But yeah, there's a lot of information in that interview. Really, a lot of information, a lot of good information.
And hopefully 2017 will be the year that the FAIRtax at least is brought down off the shelf and discussed in committee, because I guarantee if they voted out of committee, it's going to pass.
That's right. That's right. And just having it in committee, and of course, we're talking about the Ways and Means Committee, headed by Kevin Brady, who's been a FAIRtax co-sponsor since the beginning in '99. If they just bring it up for a discussion, a hearing in that committee, that very important committee, hopefully it'll make the national news. And once we get it on the national news, we can start talking about it. Okay? That would be better advertising than we could possibly purchase.
Amen. And hopefully they can convince Mr. Trump to get on board with this as well. And it sounds like they just might be able to do that.
Well, the nice thing that Randy brought out is that we all know that Mr. Trump is not a politician by trade. This is his first elected office.
As a businessman, I think he would love having his tax compliance costs all but go away.
Well, there's that. And plus, he does not do things the way Congress does things. We have people in Congress that have been there a long time, and they do things the way they do things because they've always done it that way, which is, not very logical. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Just like the proposed tax reform. Yeah. That's not really tax reform.
The better way. I mean, that's almost a carbon copy of what they did in the 80s, and it did not fix the problem long term.
Yeah, 30 years ago isn't that time. In the Reagan era, they flattened out the tax code, got rid of a lot of the language, reduced the brackets, I think, from 7 to 2, reduced the rates and so forth. And 30 years later, the tax code is more than twice as big as it was then. It doesn't work. So Real tax reform, as we know, is the fair tax. But as Bob said, we have a better chance of getting it more widely publicized.
All right. Before we run out of time, let me tell everyone how to get in touch with us. TheFairtaxGuys@gmail.com is the email address. Of course, we've got a Facebook page, The Fair Tax Guys on Facebook, and we're going to be doing another Facebook Live here shortly.
Yeah, we're not exactly sure when. We're still recovering from the holidays here.
Oh well, that's true. But we'll get there, and of course, you're going on vacation at the end of the month, so we'll have to work the schedule around. And
yeah, we'll do something.
But we'll come up with something. That was encouraging though when people were.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that, and I've learned more since then. That will make it easier for Bob and I to actually bring you a live event. We had some focusing problem. I don't know what was going on with my phone, but we'll have better lighting, and we've got some good encouraging suggestions. We thought it might last 15 minutes. And at 30 minutes, I said, we need to wrap this up.
Well, as long as people are online talking to us, we'll stay all night if they'll let us.
The live interaction was very encouraging. I really enjoyed that. So thank you, folks, for getting involved in that Facebook Live event. We will do that again. Let's see. Our email address?
Yes, already got TheFairtaxGuys@gmail.com.
Okay. And another thing to keep aware of is the new fair tax bill, H.R. 25 in the House, is going to be submitted hopefully by the time you hear this program, if not shortly thereafter. In the Senate, we're not so sure. It might take a little longer, and we don't know what the number will be in the Senate. When those bills are resubmitted, because this is a new Congress, the 115th Congress, we need you to go to popfox.com, and re-up, you might say, your consent, or if you really don't like the fair tax, you can put that in too, although I can't imagine it.
Nobody that understands it doesn't like it.
That's true. If you truly, truly do understand it, you're going to love this plan. So PopFox, after the bills get submitted, which will be hopefully in the next couple of weeks, popfox.com, for any legislation. Everything that was not acted upon at the end of last year is just gone, and they start everything all over again.
Yeah, but Randy was right. This is the year that we really need to crank up the grassroots effort. Join AFFT. If you can, join the 1040 Club. That's $10.40 a month to help get rid of the Form 1040 forever. And we can do that. We'll be doing mankind one of the greatest services ever.
Yeah, at least in this country. And I like his tactic of targeting the top. I think that's really good. And Steve Hayes has been doing that for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm. And you can help by targeting your congressman. If your congressman or senator is a fair tax supporter, especially a fair tax co-sponsor, make sure that you let them know that you appreciate that and encourage them in their well-doing there. If not, get on their case and tell them, we need this, and explain to me why you like the income tax better, and I guarantee you they won't have a good answer for you.
Yes, what is it about the IRS you love so much?
Okay, not a whole lot. And the webinar, you're back to doing webinars now.
Yep, fourth Thursday of this month will be a webinar. I can't remember what the special topic, but Larry and Mark in Orlando do a great job with that. From time to time, my wife helps out with certain research and so forth. But Larry and Mark will have another webinar. It'll be the fourth Thursday, 8 p.m. You have to register in advance by going to fairtax.org/webinar. Fairtax.org/webinar.
Well, I think everyone should make a New Year's resolution to support the fair tax and help get it through.
Yeah.
Because it is going to be literally the greatest thing that ever. A jobs bill, it'll bring jobs back. It'll make your paycheck grow. You bring home your full gross amount. All kinds of good things about it.
Yep.
But we're out of time to tell them about it. So
yeah, that's right.
Invite you to tune in again next time, and be sure to do so through the free app if you can. Well, until then, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
The Fair Tax Guys, reminding you that the fair tax is America's big solution, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Fair tax is coming.